All right, factoring by grouping. Well, the clue will be we're going to use some groups. Let's see if I can get a cat in the way. Let's see. There's always a cat involved somewhere in the videoing process, even though you can't see them all the time. All right, factoring by grouping. We use this with 4 terms. And again, terms are separated by addition or subtraction, so we can easily see whether or not we have 4 terms. So factoring by grouping is a process we can use to break down a polynomial that has 4 terms. So for example, here in number 1, we've got x cubed plus 2x squared plus 7x plus 14. 4 terms, and here is what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to split these into 2 groups. I'm going to draw a line after my second term before the operation sign. And I am going to do a little job or a little game called I ignore part of the problem. So I'm going to take a Post-it note and I'm going to ignore half of this problem, which is really kind of nice. Completely ignoring it, don't care about it for the moment, and I'm only going to focus on the first 2 terms, my first group. And I'm going to factor out the GCF of just that group. So greatest common factor, they both have an x in common. We take the lowest exponent. Divide your GCF into both terms. X cubed divided by x squared is x. 2x squared divided by x squared just leaves you with 2. All right, so now, no more ignoring. Now I get to ignore the side I've already ignored. There we go. All right. And now I'm going to focus on this side. Now, there was a reason why I wanted you to make sure that you grabbed this sign right here, because this sign right here is giving you a hint. It is a clue. So when you see that it is positive, it means that you're going to factor out a positive GCF from the second group. If it was a negative, we'd factor out a negative GCF. But it's a plus, so we're going to factor out a positive greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor between 7x and 14, I hope you recognize, is 7, and it's a positive 7. So I actually need to write plus 7. Okay, that's part of this process. We need to have a sign in front of our GCF. Is it a plus? Is it a minus? So now I'm going to divide each term by a positive 7. 7x divided by 7 is x. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Now this should look very similar to the last example we did in our factoring by our GCF notes that we did. And there was a reason why I wanted to make sure we did that problem. Because now we are not done. Now our 2 groups, this is still our first term. This is still my second term. And I'm finished factoring when I have factors and no longer have terms. And what we should recognize is that these 2 problems have the exact same group together. That term, or that factor of x plus 2, that expression, is your greatest common factor between these 2 groups. So x plus 2 will come out in its own parenthesis. Then we're going to divide that x plus 2 out of this group and this group, and we'll put what's left in the other parenthesis. Now, it's pretty easy enough. I don't actually need to do the division. I'm just going to use my fingers, and I'm going to cover up those 2 terms, because if I remove the x plus 2 from this group, I'm going to be left with x squared. If I remove the x plus 2 from this group, I'm going to be left with a plus 7. And there is your factored form. I know it's factored because I have something times something else. Notice there's no plus sign or minus sign in between the 2 groups. And there it is. Now, if you're so inclined and would like to, you could take this problem and you could take and write a box and check it. Just going to prove to you that this truly does multiply to give you that original problem. So that gets me x cubed. That's 2x squared. Multiply, that gives me 7x. That gives me 14. There's x cubed, 2x squared, 7x, 14. And look at that. If I multiply these together, it does give me the original problem. Okay, remember, what you have here and what your answer is should be equivalent and equal to each other. They're just written in different ways. So let's try this factoring by grouping again. Get my Post-it note ready because I'm going to use it. I got my two groups. I'm going to split them off. I'm going to completely ignore the second group and only find the greatest common factor of this group. I see they both have an x in common. Take the lowest exponent. So I'm going to divide x squared out of everybody. X cubed divided by x squared is x. 3x squared divided by x squared is 3. Now we can ignore the first group. And let's pay attention to the second group. Now again, this sign is telling you something. It's telling you to factor out a negative GCF. So whatever your common factor is, you're going to make it negative. 4 and 12 are both divisible by 4, but it's going to be a negative 4. So now we divide everybody by negative 4. Negative 4x divided by a negative 4 is a positive 1x. Negative 4 or 12 divided by negative 4 is a positive 3. Again, I know I'm right. I know I'm on the right track because I notice that my two things in parentheses are identical. Those are my common factors, so I'm going to bring it out first. If I divide that x plus 3 out of this group and out of this group, I'm going to be left with x squared minus 4. Okay. So think about what we did before. Again, where's that coming from? I'm taking x squared, x plus 3, dividing it by x plus 3. Those cross out and leaves you with the x squared. I'm taking negative 4x plus 3, dividing it by x plus 3, and that leaves me with my negative 4. Now, some of you may recognize that we can go further with this problem. This x squared minus 4 can go a little further, but for our purposes right at this moment, we can stop right here. All right, let me do one more with you, and then I've got two for you to try. First of all, cut it in half. Ignore that half. Greatest common factor. Well, they both are divisible by 7 and an x squared. 7x squared cubed divided by 7x squared would leave me with an x, because I would subtract those exponents. This is going to just leave me with negative 1. Change it over. That tells me whatever I factor out better be a negative. In this case, a negative 4. 4 is divisible into both, but I need to make sure it's a negative 4. Negative 4x divided by a negative 4 will leave you with a positive 1x. A positive 4 divided by a negative 4 leaves you with negative 1. And once I get here, put that smile on your face, because you have the same value in each term. That is your common factor. So x minus 1. Remove that x minus 1 from each group. You're left with 7x squared minus 4. And again, feel free to humor yourself. You can multiply this out with the box method to verify that it truly does give you this if you multiply it out. All right, two for you to try. So pause the video, hit pause, and as soon as you are done and ready to check your answers, bring it on back. All right, here's how she works. So we've got an x squared. Divide that out of each term. Switch it over. Factor out a positive number. Looks like a positive 10 is the common factor. 10x divided by 10 is x. Negative 50 divided by positive 10 is negative 5. Woot woot. Those are the same. Take that x minus 5 out of each group. You're left with x squared plus 10. Split. 6 and 8, both divisible by 2. Both have an x, so take out the smallest exponent. 6x cubed divided by 2x squared is 3x. 8x squared divided by 2x would be 4. Switch it. Factor out a negative. What goes into both 9 and 12? Negative 3. Negative 9 divided by negative 3 is positive 3. X. Negative 12 divided by negative 3 is a positive 4. Again, smile because these are the same. So there's your first common factor. If I remove these from this group, I'm left with 2x squared minus 3. And I've just factored by grouping. And this process we're going to use quite extensively as we start factoring some trinomials, things with 3 terms. All right, so again, I hope everything was just kind of a review and you just needed that little refresher to get you through so that we can factor successfully.